Hey everybody, we're back. I know it's been a while, but we're back. Today we're going to look at the Infested Salvage mission. A lot of you will probably only be doing this for as long as it takes for you to get the Nidus components with which it drops. It is the highlight of the mission. Some of you might actually enjoy how the mission plays and decide to stay around and do it even longer, but for most I think the Nidus components are the main draw. What is the Infested Salvage? The Infested Salvage is node over here on Eris. You go in, and it's an endless mission type, which means you can just stay for forever, assuming you don't die or run out of whatever you have to do. The goal is to get shipping manifests, or at least that's what Lotus is going to tell you. Really, it's to get whatever parts and gear and stuff you can, but she's got to hack into the terminals scattered about the stage in order to do that. Problem is each of these things has some infested growth on them, so you can't get into it. How are you going to solve this? Well, we're going to kill dudes. You're going to kill a lot of dudes. And some of these dudes will drop anti-serum charges or injectors. You will take these. You can hold up to 3 per Warframe. So if you're playing with friends, each of you can have 3. If you're just by yourself, you can only have 3. Doesn't matter. You take these injectors and you deposit them in a vaporizer unit by interacting with it when you have them. And it will show you in various spots how many charges you have, just in case you aren't really quite sure. Top right of the screen, left side of the screen, they got you covered. You can inject up to 3 of said charges, which is the max you can carry, into a single vaporizer unit at a given time. Each injection will cause the bubble of vaporized anti-serum to spread further and further from the vaporizer unit. A minimum of 2 charges is needed in order to reach the terminal. As soon as that terminal is reached, the hacking meter will start filling up, and when that bad boy hits 100%, you get your goodies. Now, of course, to make this go faster, you want to get as many of these terminals as possible, so when there's 3 terminals, you want to try to get all 3 of them in the bubbles. Depending on if you're playing with more or less people, this may change how you operate a little bit. If there's 3 things and there's 3 of you, then obviously each one of you can take a single vaporizer and just watch that one terminal. Unless it is changed, back in the day, the data actually uploaded faster when you were playing solo, which of course is what you usually see me do here, just so I don't have to deal with the complications of streaming and all that kind of stuff on top of everything else. By being solo, I have the rotation. You get what you can, you fill one up, you go to the next one, and then you try to get it to the point where each one of these things only needs 1 in it, and you're just rotating around the circle, filling them up, keeping them at full charge. While you're doing so, you're murdering dudes to make them drop more of the injectors so that you can then pop them back into the vaporizers and keep everything nice, flowing, and seamless. And, you know, as efficient as possible. There is other little hitches in here as well, such as the area outside of these vaporized bubbles being toxic or corrosive or otherwise damaging to your Warframe. You'll notice a little blurb on the left side of your screen on your HUD that says armor integrity and gives you a percentage, and that percentage keeps dropping the longer you're outside of the bubbles, as well as getting this nice creeping red effect on the outside of your vision. When your integrity hits 0, you will start taking damage whenever you are not inside of the vaporized bubble. It's not a whole lot of damage, and most of the time you can completely ignore this component altogether, but if you're staying there for a substantial amount of time and the enemies are starting to get problematic and you're needing to go outside of your bubbles more often, so you need to kind of worry about it at that point, then that's when you're going to want to think about things a little bit more. Here you can take an anti-serum injector, inject it into the back of the main console, it'll blast out a nice little refresh, and put your armor integrity back up to high. This is a little bit different than how it used to be, where you had to get a craftable and then use the craftable to do it, but after the raid that gave the craftable went away, it sort of kind of sneaks things around a little bit, so it's not as big a deal as it used to, because it seems like the bad guys actually just drop the things and you can slot them in now instead of having to use the actual hand-built one. So the main draw, of course, here for this mission type is the Nidus part. Being on Eris, there is the other resources that an Eris mission would drop, and given the large number of dudes you will be murdering, you know, item drops, mod drops from infested type units, the planetary resource drops, those are all going to be in there and things that you might want. But the big emphasized draw is going to be the Nidus parts, because this is where you get them. They don't really drop elsewhere. You get the blueprint from the quest, and then you have to come here and farm and farm and farm and farm. Now, I say and emphasize the farm as many times as I did right there for a reason. It's an endless mission, so it's going to follow the typical structure, AABC, when it comes to rotations. This means the first and second rounds you get an A rotation item, which is usually just like a mod or a relic. The third round you're going to get a B rotation, which is usually a mod or a relic, slightly better quality sometimes, other times not. And then the C rotation comes every fourth round. This is where you're going to get a chance at one of the 3 Nidus parts that is going to drop in here that you're going to want, as well as some other fluffy stuff like more mods or endo or whatever. So what this in turn means is that you're going to have to do 4 waves every time you're trying to get a Nidus part, be it you stay till 8, you stay till 12, or you just go to 4, leave, come back, and go to 4. If you're just trying to burn through it to get these parts, you might get a little fatigued on there, but at the same time, it doesn't take too long to get to that 4th rotation, so really it just depends on how unlucky you are with the RNG there. Things that are helpful for this mission, as you can see me using in here, for example, is an Ember with World on Fire, because it kills a lot of things. Any other Warframe that does really good at killing a lot of things while staying mobile will also help, or just bringing a Warframe weapon that does a lot of killing, like the Blazing Inferno of a flamethrower that you can get. Because, again, it will kill a lot of dudes. The more dudes that drop, the more injectors will drop. The more injectors that drop, the more you can slot them in, and you can keep everything flowing seamlessly. Other frames could still have some utility here, but in all honesty, for this one, it kind of comes down to damage being king. Something like a Necros might reroll on drops, which might cause them to drop more of things, but unless you're really hurting for them, that's not going to make as big of an impact as just murdering everything that's in there. However, something like a Nidus or anybody that would increase the number of rolls on the drop table would help for just in general farming while you're going about farming for the specific Nidus parts. That is Infested Salvage in a nutshell. If you have any tips or tricks for other players, feel free to leave them in the comments below. As always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer them. Mind you that this is a game type that I have not played in quite some time outside of doing it for this video, so I might be a little rusty. You can find plenty of information over at the Warframe wiki if you feel like reading without being in the game. But we will get to the other missions eventually here as I keep my motivation up, so look forward to those. And as always, have fun. It is a game. Don't worry about the grind. Do what you enjoy.